to sing, and even though they want to invite you to Carnegie Hall, you're going to sing to anybody that listen to you, including singing to yourself. I used to talk to my plants when nobody else would listen to me. You got to write, even if no one published your book, write, because that was given to you to do. You do what it is you're supposed to. You're supposed to build something. You're supposed to create something. I don't know how to do it. Learn. Do whatever is required. Just go out there. It's possible you can get what you want. It's necessary. If you want it, you got to go into action. You got to be willing to experiment. You got to be willing to fail and to succeed. You got to be willing to form and develop new relationships. It's you. It's on you. You got to make that happen. Nobody's going to bring it to you on a silver platter and say, here's your dream manifested. No, it's hard. Yes, it's hard. It's difficult. Yes, right. And it's worth it. People ask, hey, man, these kids, man, it's rough dealing with them. That's right. That's right. You think peer pressure happened overnight? We went through peer pressure. I remember as a kid, some guys said, hey, Les, me and another fellow named Willie Lowe, we were going home. Hey, man, we're going down to Goulds, man, and knock off a grocery store. I said, look here, I don't want no part of that. I'll see y'all later. Say, y'all chicken. I said, that's all right, you say whatever you want. Low stop. I'm not chicken, man, don't call me chicken. Then why don't you come? We didn't even ask you to come into place, man. All you do is just drive the car. That's all. I don't know how to drive that good. Well, we're trying to get Les to come. He's chicken. Hey, I'm not driving nothing, all right? Willie, don't care about what they say, man. Leave him alone. You want to go do it? You find somebody else to drive, or you drive yourself. Come on, Willie, man. Pull him, he stop. I ain't chicken. All I got to do is drive? Yeah. I say, Willie, that sounds simple, man. Don't go, man. He went. And the next day, we read the newspaper where when they robbed the store, when they came out running to a car, the merchant, the man who owned the store, came out just shooting wildly, and he hit the driver in the head. So peer pressure didn't just start in the 90s or the 80s. It's difficult and it's challenging for kids right now. And it's going to take some easy, simple methods to help bring them out of this madness, this insanity. No. Is it hard? Yes.
I finally found out what negative philosophy of life I had allowed to limit me and had me turned off, and I got that cured. Then I found a long enough list of reasons to turn me on. And once the lights went on for me, at age 25, they have never gone out. I've fallen out of the sky a few times, but I've never lost that drive to do something unique with my life. Now there's another list of reasons for doing well, called nitty-gritty. Those hard little reasons that can really affect your life. Sometimes it doesn't take much of a goal to start you in a brand new life direction. I now carry a few $100s in my money clip. It's only a few $100s, but the story behind why I do it reveals one of those reasons that greatly affected me. Just before I met Mr. Schoaf, I heard a knock at my door one day. When I opened it, there was a little girl selling Girl Scout cookies, and she gave me one of the finest sales presentations I've ever heard. A special deal, several flavors, and only $2, back when you could get a lot for $2. And with a big smile, she very politely asked me to buy. And I wanted to. Big problem. I didn't have $2. And to this day, I can still clearly remember the pain and the embarrassment. I was a father, I had been to college, I was working, and I didn't have $2. Now, since I didn't want to tell her that, I did what I thought was next best. I lied to her. I said, hey, I've already bought lots of Girl Scout cookies. I've still got plenty stacked in the house. Now, that wasn't true, but it seemed to get me off the hook for the moment. She said, that's wonderful, sir. Thank you very much. And she went away. After she had left, I closed the door, and that was the day I said, I don't want to live like this anymore. I've had it with being broke, and I've had it with lying. I've had it with being embarrassed over not having any money in my pocket. I promised myself that day that this would never happen again. I picked a day and an amount, and I said, I'll never carry less. It was one of those reasons that still affects my life after all these years. So I now carry a few $100s in my money clip. I do that for two reasons, I guess. One reason is the way it makes me feel. That special feeling of having plenty. Mr. Schoaf said to me, the first $500 you earn, put into your pocket, not in the bank. It feels much better in your pocket than it does in the bank. I've found that's true. But I also carry plenty in case I bump into another Girl Scout who's selling cookies. I'm ready. I remember walking out of the bank one day in Northern California where I lived at the time, and there were two little girls selling candy right outside the bank for some girls' organization. The first little girl walked up to me and said, Mister, would you like to buy some candy? I said, I probably would. What kind is it? She said, it's almond roca. I said, that's my favorite. She said, wonderful. I asked, how much is it? She said, it's only $2. I thought, it couldn't be. Still $2 after all these years? I couldn't help remembering the Girl Scout and the cookies. I said, how many boxes of that candy have you got? She said, I've got 5. And the other little girl standing there, she was selling candy too. I asked, how many boxes do you have? She said, I've got 4. I said, that's 9. I'll take them all. They said, really? I said, yes. I've got some friends, so I'll pass them around. They got so excited, put all this candy together. I reached into my pocket and gave them $18. Now, when I've got the candy and they've got the money, that first little girl looks up and says, Mister, you are really something. How about that? Can you imagine only spending $18 and having someone look at you in the face and say, you are really something? Now you know why I carry heavy. I'm not going to miss those chances anymore. It was a small goal, just a few $100s, but it had a big effect on my life. I have a dear friend, Robert Depew. Bobby used to be a school teacher in Lindsay, California, the olive capital. After he taught school for several years, he became a little weary of teaching and decided to get into sales. One day, without telling anyone, he quit his teaching job and jumped into sales. When he did, his brother poked fun at him. His brother said, you're going to go right down the drain. You had a good teaching job. Now you're going to lose everything you have. You must be out of your mind. He put him down something fierce. Bobby said, the way my brother acted made me so angry, I decided to get rich.
I have done a lot of things in my life that I haven't really been proud of, you know. But what I've learned about this process that I'm in is that it's okay, though, because we are all a sum total of our past. See, what I finally got hip to was the things that I was doing that was so wrong. There's a Bible verse that says something about he takes what the devil, there it is. See, I have people that, I have Sophia and Eugenia and Tanya that work for me, know the Bible real good. See, I don't know it real good. So I just know I know what ain't in there and I know what's in there. Now, where it's located, clueless. But I tell them what I want to say, and I tell them there's a scripture, because my mama was a Sunday school teacher. So I know about God, you know, and so I just use what I know. And so the scripture says, try to harm him and sold him in slavery. I don't know what that is. But as for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good in order to bring it about as if it is this day. So what that's saying to me, I could be wrong. But the stuff that I was doing that was meant for evil, when God put his hands on you, he can take all that and flip it over for something good. My ability to stay out late at night has enabled me to do my job and handle my business. But I got that from back when I was staying out late at night. My ability to talk to large groups of people who I do not know come from me having to get out of so many lies I had got myself into that I became comfortable doing that business. So coming out here telling the truth, pretty easy. The fact that I could fight you at the drop of a dime back then comes in handy, because now I'm a Christian, but there's limits to it. So I don't, you know, look, it's only so much I can take. Then after that, you're going to get off of me. It comes in handy because I'm busy. I don't have time for everybody. People stop me all the time. Steve, I need a picture. I need an autograph. Well, I'm going somewhere. All I want is a picture. I can't stop every time somebody want a picture. How would you like if everywhere you went, somebody stopped you and wanted a picture? You know how many picture requests I get a day? I can't think of a day somebody ain't asked me for a picture, asked me for something. How would you like it if you was just going somewhere and here come, and now y'all got video cameras, y'all just pull them out, and here they go. somebody films me every day, and I'm not even aware. I just look over there, and my boy go, man, step behind me. She over there filming me. I get that every day. How would you like that?
Very deep idea in clinical psychology, a fundamental idea, which is that if someone's anxious about something and it's getting in their way, you take what they're anxious about. Define it, because that already delimits it, right? Because one of the problems with being anxious about something is you won't speak of it. It's like Voldemort. And then if you don't speak of it, it's way bigger than it should be. As soon as you start talking about it, you cut it down to size. And it's for a bunch of reasons. It's because you're not as afraid of as many things as you think, and you're braver than you know, and more capable. So as soon as you're brave enough to start talking about what you're afraid of, then you see that there's more to you than you thought, and that there's less to the problem than you thought. And then you can decompose it further into smaller problems, and then you can figure out how to approach those smaller problems. And then it doesn't seem to me to be that you get less frightened. It seems to be that you get more courageous, which is way better than being less frightened, because there's lots of things to be frightened about. So if you're courageous, that really does the trick. Now the question is, what happens if you, like, let's say that you're very socially inept and you don't know how to introduce yourself or establish the initial parts of a relationship with anyone. And so then you start putting yourself in situations where you're required to do that. And so then the question is, how is it technically that you transform? You say, well, you learn. Well, we want to be more specific about that. What does it mean that you learn? Well, if you're dealing with someone who's particularly socially inept, and you're doing psychotherapy with them, you might teach them how to shake someone's hand properly and say their name and remember the other person's name. And so you just practice that with them. Have the motoric routine down. So that form of knowledge is built right into your body. It's like, look at the person, put out your hand, shake it, not like a dead halibut, but with a reasonable grip. Say your name, don't mumble it, look at them so that they can hear you, and then when they say their name, try to remember it. You can practice that with people, and so then they develop something that's motoric, right? It's embedded right in their body. And then you can say to them, well, the other thing you can do is when you start a conversation is don't sit there thinking about what you're going to say next, because then you won't be paying attention to the person and you'll make a fool out of yourself, because you'll manifest non sequiturs, right? It's like if you're dancing and all you're paying attention to is where your feet are, then you're going to step on the other person all the time. So you want to pay attention to the other person. And then whatever automatized social knowledge you have will come to the forefront. So it's a good thing to know if you're socially anxious, right? If you're socially anxious, one of the things you should do is pay way more attention to the person you're talking to rather than less. And you should pay as little attention as possible to yourself. So if you feel yourself falling in because you're anxious, then what you do is you push your attention out and pay attention to the person. Because to the degree that you've been socialized, then all your automatic responses will kick in. But anyway, so you go out into the social world and you learn to shake someone's hand, and you learn how to listen to them and ask them questions, because that's the next thing. You can't just ask them random questions, obviously, but if they start talking to you and you don't understand something about what they're saying, or maybe something they said is interesting and you ask them a question, they're pretty damn happy about that, because it means you're actually paying attention to them, and people actually love to be paid attention to because it hardly ever happens. So they really, really like it. Okay, so what's happening? Well, first of all, you're mastering automated motor movements, right? Where to point your eyes, where to put your hands, how to move your lips, like really embodied knowledge. It's a special kind of memory, and you're practicing that. So that's building new skills for you. And then by listening to the person and watching yourself interact, you're also generating new abstract information that enables you to conceptualize the world in a different way. So if you go out and talk to 10 different people or 50 different people, then you get to listen to what those 50 people said. You get to watch how they express themselves, and you gather a corpus of knowledge that changes the way you perceive, that broadens you as a social agent. Okay, so that's two forms of knowledge. But then there's a third one, which is really interesting, which is that you have a lot of biological potential. And it's hard to know what potential is, but part of it is that you're capable of generating proteins that you haven't been generating. So you should get right on that right away. So the way that works in part is that if you put yourself in a radically new situation, then your brain, that there are genetic switches that turn on because of the demands of the new situation that code for new proteins. So it's as if you have latent software, that would be one way of thinking about it, that will only be turned on if you go into the situation where that's necessary. And so then you might think, well, if that's the case, how much of you could be turned on if you went a whole bunch of different places? And that's a really, really profound question, because one of the deep answers to how you should get your life together is you should go a very large number of places and turn yourself on.